In the early morning of June 6, 1944, 3 American infantry divisions, 3 British infantry divisions, and 1 Canadian infantry division were huddled together on their respective landing craft and were ready to face the unknown at the beaches of Utah, Omaha, Gold, Juneau, and Sword. Tensions were high, and this was not helped by the fact that the invasion was delayed by a day, giving the men more time to think rather than to just do. Nonetheless, there they were, finally out there in the gritty cold sea of the English Channel, and although the men were nauseated, the atmosphere was foreboding, and the sky was a gritty mix of greys, the men all knew their ultimate task: to be the first men to break through back to Europe and set a foothold that would allow hundreds of thousands more men to join the fight for an ultimate Allied victory. The fate of the free world seemed to rest on these men's shoulders. First things first though, I do have to provide some context before I give the brave men who fought in D-Day all the credit. One thing I can't overstate more was the genius of British intelligence in fooling Hitler, as well as some traitors within Hitler's own camp that helped pull off a massive deception. On the British side of things, they actually created a whole operation called Operation Fortitude that was dedicated to fooling Nazi high command. And funnily enough, some of the most important pieces to the puzzle of this operation were actors and movie set designers, with the movie set designers creating dummy landing craft and dummy army camps, and actors such as M.E. Clifton James playing the body double for General Montgomery and fooling the entire Nazi party into thinking Montgomery was present in North Africa, which would trick the Nazis into thinking the landings would actually be at the south of France, while the real Montgomery was at home strategizing in England for the real invasion in the north of France. In addition to this, the MI5 worked extremely hard to pretty much sniff out all German agents within England and start feeding them false information. With the help of the traitor in the German Abwehr, Wilhelm Canaris, the Brits were able to feed Hitler's least trusted agents the actual information of the attack of Normandy, and his most trusted agents false plans that indicated an attack elsewhere. Hitler by that time, coming to trust no one but himself and accepting no external input from his staff, came to the conclusion through this British manufactured web of lies that the Allies would in fact attack either the Pas-de-Calais region, which was the closest point of France from England, or somewhere in the south of France. At one point, Hitler was even fearful of an invasion from Norway, and therefore the paranoid dictator sent some of his most experienced and veteran troops to the most useless parts of Europe and France for his expectations of where the invasion would be. On 6th of June, however, Normandy was out of mind and out of sight for the Führer. In fact, at 4 of the 5 beaches of Normandy, those being Utah, Gold, Juneau, and Sword, the German defense was comprised of many Ostlegionen troops, which were essentially conscripts from East Europe and Russian prisoners of war who were forced to fight. In addition, Hitler was still so adamant that this was a diversionary attack that he refused to send in experienced German armored and infantry divisions and made them hold their ground as the coast was falling into Allied hands. As a result of this, the defenders at these 4 beaches had very little morale, and their defenses fell rather quickly and with minimal casualties for the Allies. The Americans of the 1st and 29th Infantry Division, however, were not as fortunate. After landing at the most heavily defended and entrenched part of Normandy, they were also unlucky enough to be facing the only motivated and almost fully strengthened German infantry divisions of the initial D-Day defense, this division being the 352nd Infantry Division. The initial resistance was so intense that the Americans for a time were stunned into inaction until a few brave men, including one we're going to talk about in a video later this week, broke the stalemate and got the men moving. All in all, the devastation at Omaha cost the Allies roughly 3,000 men dead or wounded of the 43,250 infantry they had, and the German 352nd Infantry Division suffered 1,200 casualties, or 20% of their total force, a number that could have been easily replaced if Hitler let other German divisions reinforce them. History, however, doesn't care for what-ifs, and thankfully for the Allies, German reinforcements arrived too late and not in time for the defense of the beach. The Germans of the 352nd were forced to retreat. The Allies had won the day. There was now a channel in which Allied troops could land in Europe and begin the long and arduous journey all the way to Berlin. Now, I know there are a lot of other roles that played a pivotal role in the D-Day success, but I've narrowed it down into this small, concise video of what I think were the most memorable ones, but I do acknowledge there are a lot more. In addition to this, there are also some really interesting small stories nestled into the Normandy landings that I'll actually be covering later this week, so make sure you stay tuned for that. And just before you go guys, if you are new to the channel, I just want to quickly welcome you to a new history channel that covers all the unknowns and cool parts of the world wars and all of the history in between them. You know, all those stories you heard as a kid put into a video form where you can express your appreciation and interest in them with other history buffs in the comment section below or on our Discord server. If you want to check out the link to our Discord server, it's in the description below. Anyways guys, I really do hope you enjoyed this small snippet of the heroics of D-Day, and as always, thank you so much for watching and I hope you learned something new.